Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Celtic Now and For podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford. This episode is obviously the reaction podcast regarding the Hamilton victory, 2-0 win. Today on the panel, I'm joined by Robert Boyle again. Robert, how you doing, mate?
Good, Ryan, thanks.
And this episode, I'm joined by a new guest of the panel, Claire Church. Claire, how's things?
Good, thanks. Yeah, all good.
Well, obviously, Claire, since it's your first time on, I'll get your opinions first. Obviously, good victory as we've been through a wee bit of a game there. So, just obviously your first thoughts after the game.
I still feel a bit deflated, to be honest. It was a win, which is obviously good, but it wasn't the most exciting game in the world, I'm not going to lie. Main concern from last night probably would be the lack of, I don't know, a wee bit of lack of enthusiasm for the boys. I mean, they were better, but no disrespect to Hamilton, but like, it was Hamilton. I want to see how they got on Saturday against a team that scored 5 goals last night. I mean, defending the way they defended last night against St Mirren could potentially cause a little bit of a different reaction. I think St Mirren would score, put it that way, if we defend like that on Saturday. But I mean, good result, don't get me wrong, good result. Obviously Griffiths and Edward scoring, which helps. I think we might have a wee injury. I think Edward looked like he was holding his hamstring when he came off last night. I don't know if you guys seen that. So
I know he was limping, but I wasn't sure if it was. I thought it was just him.
Hoping that's no. Well, maybe. I'm hoping it doesn't end up being an injury, because obviously if he's just coming good, then hopefully we can keep him till the summer at least. But I know, decent enough. Just I'm struggling to get up for the games these days. I'm just I need to do something to make me go, all right, okay, cool, no bother.
I think that's Robert. I think that's what we've been kind of saying. It's you're kind of like what's going to happen this week. Every day you're like, is there going to be something else to disappoint us? It's as Claire says, you're struggling to get up for games, and like the day Davis is signing or Wright is signing, really, you're hard to get yourself up for anything really with Celtic because of the way the season's went.
Every day I'm looking for a positive rather than a negative, but the negatives outweigh the positives at this precise moment, being a Celtic supporter. On last night's game, I thought there was spells they played all right. I wouldn't say they played fantastic. I cut a no bad link up with Edward and Griffiths. Sorrow was good in the midfield. The two strikers scored 2 goals, but again, what Claire said, quite a lot of it I agree with. So hard to get yourself up for it. The goalkeeping situation to me is just, it's a lottery ticket. It's like, who we pulling it this week, innit? The defence still is ropey. Let's not get away from that. There's just a lot of things. It's hard to get positive about. But last night we won. We had a clean sheet. It's all you can ask for, considering the last few weeks that we've had in the turbulence. You just want to get back to winning ways, and hopefully we can build a bit of momentum now, going to the end of the season. But I can't see us going in this a wee run of results, to be honest. As Claire said, St Mirren's going to be a lot tougher test, because for me, Hamilton didn't really offer much. They were kind of battling, but they didn't. They're the bottom of the league for a reason. They're no a great team. So on to the next game, St Mirren, I'm afraid. I
kind of agree with the two when it comes to. I thought we were there was no enthusiasm. It was like you're 2-0 up. I think under a lot of other managers, I know we keep referring back to Rodgers, but if that was 2-0, it'd be gone for 3, gone for 4. There's no will to, for me, there's no will to go and get a goal. There's no enthusiasm to get the ball up the park, and I just don't know if that's just, as Claire says, deflated. I just think the full team, I'm not saying they're not trying or they're not up for it. It's like there's no fight. There's only maybe certain players like Sorrow, Turnbull. Ayer's been brilliant for me all season. I think he'll be a one that'll go. With a lot of fight for me. I know I've marked it down here for later on, but Edward, for me, I thought Edward was poor. As much as you don't want to talk about Rangers, you look at their strikers, they're winning all the time, they're giving defenders a lot of hassle, and I don't know if Edward's worried to get injured. I don't know. I think he's gone somewhere, but he's just not the guy that we've been watching from the last year and a bit. Again, we've spoke about before, we don't know if it's what to do with COVID? Is he injured? Is he? We don't know. But I don't know what Claire thinks. But I think it's, for me, I know Edouard scored, but I just don't think he's doing enough to merit even starting. Because I know I've always says that if he's fit, he should be playing because he's always got that bit of magic. But I just don't know where to go with Edouard now, because my feelings on him is he's phenomenal on his days. He's probably the best player in Scotland. But I just don't know what you make it that clear about Edouard's performance.
I kind of want to grab him and shake him after seeing him play this season, honestly. Last night, I agree with you. I thought it was poor. The simple stuff he couldn't do, but then he did something really complicated before he scored. Like, the best bit of thing he did was caused best bit of play and he scored, but he couldn't do the simple stuff for the rest of the match. Like, he was posted missing for probably, I don't know, a good 20 minutes of the first half. I don't think he's been consistent. I 100% agree with you. I think he's scared he's going to get injured. I think his head's obviously been turned by whether it be Rodgers, whether it be somebody in France. I don't know, but he's a young. I don't want to say age is an excuse, but he's a young boy. Do you know what I mean? He's obviously ambitious and he knows he's good. That's the thing. He does know he's good, and I think when just kind of shits hit the fan a bit at Celtic, I don't think he can stomach it. I don't think he can. He's tolerating it very well. He's obviously. I mean, if that was a hamstring injury he's got last night, he's probably going nowhere in January now, so he's going to be stuck here for another 6 months. Are we going to have another 6 months of him just doing what he did last night? No thanks. Off you go, beat it. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather he went if he was going to do that for 6 months. I don't know if I can handle 6 more months of that.
I don't know what your take on it is, Wade. I know we've spoke about it all, but I'm 100% with Claire. It is like you want to shake him because you're like, we know what you can do. Even at Ibrox, see the one he missed at Ibrox, see if that was his bar 6 months ago, that's a goal. I've seen it.
Ryan, sorry.
It's not, obviously, his finishes. See the one at Sparta Prague away, that was Edouard, peak Edouard. And I don't know if it is, like Chris agreed with me, that he's injured or he's no way to get injured, or again, because he's changed agents now, hasn't he? So, and supposedly the company's a big company he's signed for, so that's already in the pipeline. But see if you're going, in my opinion, I know we're Celtic fans and we don't care about if he's going to Arsenal or Leicester or wherever he's gone, but obviously your main focus was 10 in a row, so you should be thinking about your move after you win 10 or after you have a good season. So, see, in my opinion, we were maybe quoting 30, 40 million. See, now, the way he's playing, you're lucky, probably get lucky at 25 million from him now.
25 million is the right bracket, especially with COVID times, because for me, he sets so high a standard that if he doesn't play to that standard all the time, then people are going to judge him and start looking at, he's half a boil, he's no interested, he wants a move. But you've got to remember, nobody at Celtic's performed this year. There's nobody really, apart from Sorman Timble came into the team that we spoke about, there's not been one player that stood out in that team that you went, wow. So maybe with COVID, maybe with his injury, maybe with not having strike partners, changing, chopping, changing. The team's changed 33 different times this season.
I know.
And I thought, that's not how you build a winning team. You don't build a winning team with changing players constantly. We make the most subs in the league. Under Len, to me, it's for individuals, the team now. The management are a unit. I would say John Kennedy and Neil Lennon don't really go on. I don't think they see eye to eye, in my own opinion. I feel they've got different thoughts and things, but they don't talk about it. And that's all come to the boil. The players are probably in wee triangles now, like small groups, because obviously everything's went tits up really. And you really need men in there when things are going tits up to regroup us and get us back together. And Scott Brown's not been the Scott Brown we know either, because he should be the leader, even if he's not playing half the part and getting us regrouped. But he comes on the other night and makes an absolute stupid elbow fling or arm fling, whatever you want to call it. I mean, how can he turn in and tell any other player to up their game when he's coming on and doing something like that? To me, the full season up to now has just been a total circus act, as we spoke about, Ryan. I don't think there's been many positives, and it must be hard for players coming into your squad when so much has gone wrong. Obviously, with Barkas and Ayeti, I don't think they're up to it for Celtic, but it's hard to get saying it about them because of what's happened. and everything that's kind of faltered, and it's down to the management not getting the best out of the players. So maybe under Lennon, Edward just doesn't feel all right. He was good last season, but he really blossomed under Rodgers. You know what I mean? So obviously transfer speculation, and Cham's not happy. Big Julian's been injured, so there's loads of things. The French boys all stick together. I know that for speaking to an actual Celtic player. He told us a wee bit about the French players and says they're kind of close and stuff like that. So that's just my opinion on it. It's you can't just blame Edward. I mean, Griffiths comes back for pre-season with weight and stuff. It's been a catalogue of loads of things. But we know Edward's absolutely brilliant on his day and what he can actually do. But as he says, the league's gone, right? So why will that guy go out and give 100% in case he does get a teared hamstring or does a knee ligaments or breaks his leg, and that move, that has to move, then collapses? It's hard, but if we get money for him, I'd take it. 20-25 million. I would, because we need money for building for next season. So that's just my opinion on.
I can take that eye when it comes to him no way to get injured, because even when I played football, if you knew you were going somewhere else, you did know why to get injured. That's just a simple fact. At the end of the day, he's got a family, he's got a life, so I can understand that. But us as Celtic fans, it's frustrating, Claire, when you see guys like that, when you know how good they can be, and this season when you'd expect them to be all firing, they're not.
It's so frustrating, especially something like what Robert said. He's so good on his day. Like, he can be brilliant. He can just be unplayable at times. And then it's frustrating watching him be so poor. Right now, he's not earning his move. He's not working for it. Somebody like Ayer, who's been brilliant all season, he's working for his move. He's week in, week out. I'm not saying he's been brilliant. He has been good, but he's been the best of a bad bunch. He's been consistently at an okay standard. Whereas Edward's just went from up here to just so poor and just so uninterested looking. Even his body language hasn't been great. It's disappointing for me, because I like the guy. I think I wish he would. I don't know what I wish he would do. I mean, I bet you any money if he leaves, he'll be absolutely brilliant again. That's the thing. He'll leave and he'll be fantastic wherever he goes, and all the Celtic fans will be absolutely raging. But that is what it is. That's just disappointing. But like what Robert says, the whole season's a circus.
Because that was similar to the same with Dembele when he was coming to an end. He formed it, and then as soon as he went to Lyon, boom, they're talking about him getting capped for France and this, and I was like that. But we all knew about Dembele. Dembele for me was outrageous, and I think, again, I don't think he totally played his best here. That we've seen that he went to Lyon, knew he's at Athletic Madrid, so it just proves as well that there's talent everywhere, even in the low leagues in Scotland, but especially at Celtic and even Rangers. We don't know what to say, but there's talent everywhere in Scotland, and I don't think maybe it gets the recognition like guys like Edward. Even Tierney with 25 million at the time was a good deal, but looking back now, it was daylight robbery for what we sold him for, because he's probably Arsenal's best player. And then obviously we were talking about Barkas, Robert, and Claire, that chop and changing. I want to kind of talk about you, obviously, Claire, when it comes to Barkas. I know me and Robert spoke about it. It's the thing with Lennon is, again, I don't know if Lennon is. I don't know if he's no well. I say on a serious point, because I don't know if he remembers what he said about Barkas 2-3 weeks ago. He said he was number one, we need to play him, and blah blah blah. And he's played about 2 out of 5 or 6 games. So I don't. And then he's saying Baines earned these stripes again, but the Baines not played since November or something. So how's he earned these stripes if he's not played? And he's saying that he needs to. He's admitted himself he's not playing well and he can do better, and he's not settling. But see, to settle and get used to playing up to speed, you've got to play every week, surely. That's just my opinion. I think if you've got to get, same with Griffiths, most of Griffiths not been fit, or yet not been fit, well, they need to play. You can only train so much before you get fit. But I don't know what you make of the comments, Claire, but I just think after saying that and no playing Barkas, for me, it's baffling.
I'm confused though as well, because like you said a couple of weeks ago, he came out and said opposite Barkas, and then last night he came out and pretty much slated the guy and said he's not settling, he's no up to it. But apparently Barkas has admitted he's no settling and he's not up for it, and I'm like, Right, okay, but I mean, my head just keeps going back to we spent 5 million on this doofus who's came in and, couldn't catch anything. And I mean, I like Ben. I like Ben a lot as a goalie. I think he's pretty solid and I think he's pretty decent. And I don't think Hazard did a great deal wrong. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think he did a lot wrong when he was in. I don't know where he's went. I don't know where he disappeared to. But like what Robert said, we're just going to dip our hand in a lucky dip bowl every week and just pick a goalie out and put them in. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's really, really weird. I personally just I haven't seen enough of Barkas to think of anything else apart from the fact that he's no great for me. Doesn't he command? I don't think he's commanding. I don't think you don't hear him shout a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear him shout at the two idiots in front of him, whoever they may be each week. You should be screaming at your defenders. And I mean, the great Fraser Foster gave a defence. I mean, you remember him? He always used to shout and command the box and command the boys in front of him and whatever. But I like Ben. Ben's quite vocal and Ben seems to be a wee bit more solid. But I mean, where's his morale at? I'm just getting flung back in this team and I've not kicked a ball for 8 weeks or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to think, what's he thinking? I mean, he can't be 100% happy with that. I mean, obviously I don't know, but it's just my opinion. So,
you see, obviously you were talking about, but obviously Barkas that Lennon's come out and says this, but after saying that, do you know as well, Robert, that he's flung the player under the bus that he's done all season, came out in public? Is that not something you say, but in-house? The full thing we've spoke about, for me, Lennon, we don't know what goes behind the scenes, and even some people who I suppose are in the know and they say they know this, nobody knows anything. As I said to Club before this morning, it's only Des and Lennon and Lawwell that know really what's happening. Nicky Hammond, the recruitment guy. I've watched, but see when he played against us, he made a few good saves, I thought, and when Rodgers was here in the qualifiers to the Champions League. And I know YouTube's YouTube, and some of the saves he's making on YouTube, I'm like, wow. Against Bayern Munich, Juventus, I'm like, he's decent. Obviously, a few guys right on Twitter saying what a sign you've got, and then I don't know what as Claire says, you spent £5 million. Are you just going to pick a lucky dip and go, right, we'll sign him, we'll play him? I know we've spoken about him, but I'm trying to take a observing for it and just no judge any player this season in a way, because of how, as you said, it's been a bit of a shit show. But some guys, like we've said, Duffy, Beaton again's been poor for me. Guys who you can get a judge, but I don't know if me Barkas, mate. I don't know about it, mate. The situation is just totally, it's a shit show.
The goalkeeping situation for me, Ryan, is Hazard is a good upcoming young goalkeeper. He needs experience. He's a good shot stopper. He's no great at coming for crosses. He's vocal enough. He needs experience. He needs out and loan to a Kilmarnock, a St Mirren, St Johnstone. Someday get a good season under his belt and then assess him for there. Scott Bain's a good backup goalkeeper for me. He's good with the ball at his feet. Nice guy, cracking guy. Actually, I've spoken to him quite a few times, and he's actually one of the most down-to-earth guys you meet. But that doesn't make him a good goalkeeper. But he's a cracking guy. He's a good guy to have around about the club. I think he's a decent enough shot stopper to be a number 2. I don't think he's a number 1. And Barkas, for me, this is what we're talking about with Lennon and somebody else, right? We'll not mention other names, management side. See if Barkas is struggling, he doesn't need to come out and slate the guy in the press. Mm-hmm. He takes it in-house and says, the guy's got a wee bit of homesickness and we've had to take him out the phrase. Just a professionalism to the media, rather than going and saying the guy's no settling. He's admitted it himself. He's just not up to the standard. To me, that's just no professional for a manager. He's got to take him out the limelight. Even say he's got a slight injury, take him out the limelight, let him try and work away in the background and see how it goes for there. But he's no good enough for me, Barkas. I think we've been a bit spoilt with goalkeepers over the years. Your Boric's, your Fraser Foster's, and even to an extent Craig Gordon in his first season in that. We had right good goalkeepers that could make a lot of good saves. David Marshall was decent enough in his day as well. So we've been spoilt with goalkeepers, and now you see how much decent a goalkeeper we actually had over the years and how good they can be. But to me, he's no commanding, he's no vocal, and I've yet to see him make any saves that's kept us in a game, apart from a couple at Ross County. But other than that, he's been very poor. Positional sense to me, very poor as well. But again, the guy's going through a pandemic, settling into a new country, probably know a lot of people speak. Obviously, there's nobody who probably speaks in the Celtic team Greek, is what I can think of. So a lot of things, it's hard for people. It's just because how big a season it is, and we're coming into this season, and everybody expects the players to come in and hit the ground running. And unfortunately, we've not had that luck. Our players come in and hit the ground running. I don't think there's been many signings that have done that. So maybe we're giving the guy a bit too much flack. But for me, he's got to be a strong enough person to get away and make it count now and do extra training, do what's needed to done to get to that high standard. If you remember when Boyata was in the team, there was talking being at Lennoxtown and training to 9:30 at night, and Brendan Rodgers says, "I don't believe you," and he had to go and check the security guard to see that he was up training. If you're determined enough, and he's obviously got ability somewhere, you can make it, change it, and make it better for yourself, and go and do the extra training that's needed. If that's what it is, keep your mind on football and take your mind off sitting in a fucking hotel room or sitting in a flat when you probably not got a lot of people in about you. I think just mentally strong, he needs to be mentally stronger and needs to look at himself in that sense and go, right, what do I want? Do I want to be here? Do I want to make a career for myself here? Or do I want to sulk and feel sorry for myself and move on? That, to me, a goalkeeper's got to be a strong vocal person and probably a bit of a madman as well to be a goalkeeper. That's just my thoughts on the goalkeeping situation at Celtic now.
Because obviously we're talking about Foster, Claire, and I agree with you that as much as your defence hasn't been the best, with a solid goalkeeper, it gives you a kind of a substance to the full team. The defence know, because last season, it's apart from the 2 or 3 signings in the first 11, it is kind of the same team. Obviously, Julian's injured and COVID and stuff has happened, but Julian and Ayer, Mohamed, and who was left back again last season?
Greg
Taylor, sorry. And Lazio, when we beat Lazio, it was round about the same team with Johnny Hayes. It was roughly about the same team, but as Claire says, I agree with Claire that having let's be honest, Fraser Foster as a world-class goalkeeper, it gives the rest of the team confidence.
Yeah, and Fraser didn't want to come back, or whatever the story was there. He didn't want to come back, and for whatever reason, and I mean, he's all agreeing with defence isn't great. Let's just no beat about the bush here. The defence is shocking, actually, but again, I think kind of like what Robert said as well, we've been spoiled a wee bit, I think. I agree with him on the goalkeeping situation. I think that we have been spoiled. I also think that the defence need a kick up the rear end, and I think they need a good goalie to do that. I think a strong commanding goalie would give them a bit up the backside that they need maybe to be a bit more, a wee bit better. I mean, I get the impression as well with Duffy, I think he's just trying that bit too hard now, and he's trying that hard. He's if it's possible, get even worse. He's obviously Celtic fan or whatever else, but it's just not happening for him, and he might just need to relax a bit, but it might just be it, and maybe who knows, he might actually score one of them headers he goes for when we take a corner. I mean, he's always up there. He's just, and you look how frustrated he is every time he misses one. Like, he looks absolutely gutted every time, and it's like the boys obviously trying, but it's maybe just it's not for him. But from my goalkeeping point of view, somebody with a big, strong, commanding goalkeeper, I think is what we need. And I mean, I take your point, Robert, about Bain. He's solid enough, and maybe he's just a number 2, maybe he's just a backup, but he's the best of a bad bunch right now, I think. Again, unfortunately, I shouldn't be saying that about Celtic, but I think he is the best of a bad bunch at the minute.
I think it's been hard for us as fans that obviously come on a podcast or in general, because obviously we can't go to pubs and have a talk with our pals and whatever else and all our fellow supporters, but we seem to be criticising a lot. But it's hard when I think a lot of fans feel obviously the team out of water, and other teams in Scotland are saying why he's getting all uptight about how bad your opinions have been social. But that's why we're so critical of the team, because we know how good they can be, and the drop standards. And obviously we've spoke about how maybe the professional side of the game has maybe went, because obviously for me, Lennon, this is the first season in maybe the last few years where I think we've spoke a lot in the press. I don't know if it gets brought up about, in my opinion, maybe too much. But Lennon was talking to the press, more players are coming out and talking to the press. But see, I know we keep saying about Rodgers, but players didn't come out and talk to the press with Rodgers. They done it in-house. That season, all you heard was Tavernier talking to the press, Morelos talking to the press, and guys who came before, Senderos talking to the press. And I think that's got to be nipping the bud for me. I don't know why they're being all that out. I don't know what you think of that, but Robert, but I think there's a lot in that side that's got to change.
You've heard interviews with McGregor saying stuff like standards no great, he couldn't put his finger on how players are so off the boil on that, and I think it was a Sparta Prague game at home. I think if that interview went any longer, McGregor was ready to tell more than he should have actually said. He just looked in one of the moods that he was just totally pissed off, should we say. And I think players like him have had dropped this year in standard just because everything about them, and it's no for lack of trying, because McGregor gives 100% every game, but it's just everything comes from the management, in my opinion on it. If the management are as a unit and as one, I mean, you can look back at Neil Lennon accepting the job without his own backroom staff. To me, right away, that's a no-no. He should have had guys around about him that he could trust. And even if John Kennedy had to be there, he should have still had me Albion or Alan Thompson or Gary Parker, whoever he needed in to be alongside him, because him and John Kennedy just don't react to me. And I feel if your management aren't in the same wavelength, how can they go address the players and put it across to the players to be on the same wavelength? To me, it's just all individuals. And to me, it just looks like we need an actual structure, a management, a coaches, stuff that needs brought back to the club, or a professionalism. Like as we says we had before, if that needs to be a £3 million manager, then I feel a £3 million manager is worth his weight in gold more than a £3 million player. Just because a lot of players there don't just become bad players overnight. As you say, you can get the best out of these players again if they're coached right and put into a system, and no change for a 4-2-3-1, a 3-5-2, a 4-1-3-2. You know what I mean? It's like tactics are changing week in, week out. Some players are getting played out of position, like Elanussi's played everywhere but goalkeeping, I think he's played everywhere in the park. Taylor there, Laxalt there, Ayer played every position. I mean, you can't have a settled team. Your spine of your team is the most important part of a team, and that's got to kind of be the same all season. And to me, it's changed far too much. There's nobody can build partnerships up throughout the team. It's changing constant. Tactics are changing constant. You had Turnbull in the right or left last night. To me, it's just you get away with it with Hamilton, but you're not going to get away with it in the better teams. It needs to change, mate. The manager needs to change. I just hope it's sooner rather than later, because the longer we leave it, the more it's just dragging on and bringing the fans down and bringing the club down, to be quite honest.
I agree with you when it comes to everything about especially the Lennon and Kennedy. You can see I know people speak about Kennedy and reacting. I know in the past he doesn't really react, but especially at this time when you're in a bit of a need for your managers and your coaches to have to give you a list. There's no fans. As we spoke about, Claire, obviously the fans might be it could be a thing that obviously a detriment to the squad, but for me, I think at the side of the park and obviously at training, whatever they're doing, it's definitely no what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I forget who it was. I think it was somebody, I forget who said it, but somebody said that we're missing the fans so much more than what Rangers are. And I'm kind of laughing because I think if Rangers had the fans in the stadium, would they be as good as they are? Are Rangers that good, or are we just that bad? That's a totally different debate. I'm not even going to get into that. But I do think the fans obviously play a big part. Everyone talks about the atmosphere. Everybody talks about the fans. You know, Messi comes out and says how good it is. All these famous players say how good the atmosphere is. So I do think we're definitely missing that, and the players are missing that lift. But I also think if I was in the ground, I would be giving Lennon absolute dogs abuse if I was in there every week watching this nonsense, and I think he'd be at the door by now if there was fans in the ground every week. I don't think he'd still be there. I think the lack of fans gives Lowell that little safety net to just sit on it a wee bit longer, or for whatever reason he wants to do that for.
Aye, definitely. When it comes to Lawwell, I think they've been quite quiet, haven't they, about a lot of things. They'll only post on the social media when we won trophies every day. They're posting everything. Now they're quiet. I agree with the two on that situation. And then obviously, we're kind of away from the game, but it's things we need to talk about. But obviously, we're talking about Beaton and Duffy defence. I know Taylor's stats yesterday were brilliant, but for me, I spoke about it. Going forward, if we want to progress as a club, and as Robert says, Lawwell says, we're an elite club, for me, Taylor, and probably to an extent, Laxalt's not going to be your left back. But Duffy, I agree with you, Claire, that I think he's trying too hard. But as I've spoke about before, we don't know if his personal side, what's happened to him, is affecting his game here. We don't know. But me personally, I know we're struggling for centre backs, but if it's going to make his life a bit better and maybe make him a better player, I would send him back if we can do that, because I think he's struggling, and we don't want to sit here and criticise our own team, because it's no what we're like and what you want to do. But I agree with you when it comes to Duffy and Beaton. I think he is a centre mid, isn't he? You can see the centre mid when he plays. But I don't know what your take on Beaton is, Claire, but I just think, I know we're struggling for centre backs, but he can't play there, because he's making two mistakes. And yesterday, he's passing 5-10 yard pass out the park. You're a professional football player. I know it happens, but it's happening every game for me now, and that's just not the standards we've set.
I mean, I've always actually been a fan of Beaton as a midfielder, and I think back to Chris Sutton playing striker, midfield, centre back, and you're thinking, oh, could he be that versatile? Could he do this? You know, this is a good thing. This is great. And can he do a 10-yard pass, like you said? And he has a wee bit of a bomb scare at centre back, unfortunately. But then I also think, would I prefer Ayer at centre back, or would I prefer Ayer at right back now? And that's a different thing. I mean, Ayer's just up and down, quite happy last night. He played, I thought he was fine. I thought he was good. Looked like he was totally a worst couch after it, but he tried hard, and you know what? He looked like he wanted to be there and wanted to play, and that was good, and I enjoyed that about it. Beaton, I don't know, because where's the space for him in the midfield if the defenders are there and the defenders are fit? Because he's not going to take Sorrow or Brown out. Well, Brown's a different issue, but Sorrow was playing well, and like Robert said, he was good and he's solid and he's a great wee player. I don't think he's going to take him out and put Beaton in there unless he's injured. So is Beaton going to stay and be a backup midfielder, or would they want to move on if he can't get the game at centre half? I think he's just happy to be playing, as much as he's maybe no great. But we don't really have many other options right now. I haven't seen enough of the guy Welsh to. He's been all right. Again, all right. It's about all as excited as I'm going to get. But again, you know, it depends. I mean, obviously Lennon's going with. I'm not saying Lennon's going with his buddies. He's going with who he trusts and who he thinks he trusts and who he thinks is going to be all right on the night. But it's not about the performance, it's about who he trusts, and it's a totally different thing about who's playing well and who's performing well as to who he wants. And then that's not doing the team any favours right now, I think.
Because obviously you were saying it was Hamilton and we won the game, but see, even it's Hamilton and Duffy and Beaton, and they're making mistakes. I thought Hamilton should have scored. I don't know what Duffy was doing. That's it. Duffy, as we've says, Robert, Duffy's an experienced internationalist. He's played at the highest level in the Premier League. He's only 28, 29, so it's not like he's 35, 36. He's a captain of Ireland, played in Euro qualifiers. As we've said, you don't want to disrespect any Scottish team, but you're playing against the bottom league, and they're kind of giving you a wee bit of a game. I just don't know. He should be coming here. But our first thought, I was all on my Twitter. I can't believe he's signed. What a signing! And it's just failed. And there's so many players I think have no really cut it this season. And I think I know we've kind of spoke about it, Claire, that he's been a big kind of failure. And obviously, it's just I don't know what you think about Beaton, Robert, as well. But I just think the centre back to the goalkeeper, even Hamilton, it's just you're still thinking you're going to concede a goal, and for me that's no good enough.
I don't think Beaton is a bad player. I really don't. I think he's a no bad football player. I think he's kind of composed on the ball, and I think that's where Lennon likes him at the back. But he isn't a centre half. I mean, he can play good for 60, 70 minutes. Like we've seen against Rangers, he never put a foot wrong, but he's always got a mistake in him because he's not got the defender instinct where he's got to be switched on all the time. He switches off because he's used to doing that in midfield. It's easy to switch off because there's two guys standing behind you at centre half, and you get away with it at centre midfield. But when you're playing at centre half, one mistake like that, or one mistake like he done at Hamilton away and wiped the ball out and that, it's no Beaton's fault. It's we've got Julian injured. He's not got a lot of trust in young boy Welsh, who I think could be all right in the future again. He's just a young boy, and Julian's injured, so you've not really got much choices at centre half. I mean, Ayer's there, but no, with Celtic ping pong, El Hamid looks miles at the picture, so he's named. But I don't know where you could put El Hamid into centre half because he can play there, but I don't know how far out the picture he seems to be miles at the picture now. And put Ayer at right back, or put Ayer in at centre half, and put El Hamid at right back. I don't know. I don't think Lennon knows what he's doing, so what chance have we got of realising what he's doing? And Duffy, I think if El Hamid wasn't homesick and the stuff that's going on, and Julian wasn't injured, I think they would have sent Duffy back in January. My personal opinion, I think they would have. But no, you're stuck with it. So we just need to put our blindfolds on and look through the cracks of the blindfolds to see what's happening.
I agree with you when it comes to Beaton. I don't think Beaton is a bad player. I think it's centre mid. I think obviously we've got Sorrell and Turnbull and McGregor. I know in Champs don't play him, but you're still got him as an option. I think Beaton is a really good player on the ball. But I think, as you say, he switches off and it kind of makes him into a bad... Again, he's not a centre back, let's be honest. He's no, so he is out his comfort zone, but he's, as Claire says, maybe he's just happy playing there because he's playing with Celtic and he's playing every week. But it's the simple mistakes that I think because he's maybe too calm and maybe too good a passer that he is playing the 10 yards out the game. But see, watching it, it's so frustrating. See, because we spoke about, Robert, that if that was a Sunday league game or a Saturday game that we were playing in, you would have been getting absolutely slaughtered as a manager. So, and then obviously when you're talking about Sorrell and Turnbull again, I thought they were brilliant. I think we need to build a team around them next season. I don't know what you think of that, Claire, but I think we've got to kind of start. I know, obviously, mathematically the league's no finished, but in theory it is, right? But you've got to kind of build the team now, maybe, and just build a squad now where to get into the qualifiers, and hopefully, if the new manager can win, they're kind of maybe settled into the team and they can go the way we want to go.
I like Sorrell a lot. I think he's been very, very good. He's something about him that makes me think of Lennon when Lennon played in that position a wee bit. I don't know why. Just he's a wee solid wee guy, tidies up things, saves the defenders' blushes on a lot of occasions. I'm not gonna lie, I've only seen him do it a few times last night as well. Turnbull, I rate him really highly. He's been a wee bit off the boil recently, just a wee bit. But he can be off the boil and still be better than the likes of Christie, for example. And you know, he still plays better than him, even if he is slightly off the boil. I think building a team around those two is a very good thing. Very much a good thing. I don't know what's wrong with McGregor this season. He has been, I get he said the captain's armband. I don't know if that's extra pressure on him or what, but I like him. I think I rate him really highly, and I know that I think it was Rodgers that was looking at him and thinking about bringing him down south and stuff like that. And yeah, all right, on his day probably. Do you know what? Yeah, he probably could go and play in England. But if you take the three McGregor on his day, Turnbull and Sorrell, that's your three boys that I think you mould the team around. Roderick can just go and he can leave. Honest to God, I see him coming on and I just put my hands over my head. I just don't know what's going on with him. I don't know. He's just shocking. But yeah, those three guys, in my opinion, I think you should build that team around.
I'm definitely with you there. Sorrell, again, but it's not like, as we've said, Robert, it's not like he's just signed. He was there for January. So Lennon, obviously, he's came from a different country, and I'm a big believer of, I don't really believe in all that bullshit about settling in. See, if you're a professional football player, you should be just going in and playing. Whether or not that's maybe been too critical of clubs again, guys' time, I don't know. It's just my opinion. I think if you're a professional football player, maybe 2 or 3 weeks to settle in, get used to the training, get used to the climate, whatever else. But if you're good enough, for me, you should be playing. And Turnbull was signed to him. It only took us to start really dipping for they two to come on the team, and they've been there all season. And Brown, as we've spoken about, Robert, in other podcasts, the old guard that he was playing, the guys he's tried and trusted, and Charm, who I thought, for me, I keep saying it, on his day, for me, I think he's the best midfielder in Scotland. He's phenomenal, but his best days are 1 every 20 or 1 every 15. So for me, I sell him. His time's up. But Sorrell, I think he's brilliant. I know I do agree with Claire when it comes to that. Maybe that he's no how do you say, he's no flashy. He just does maybe the Canty and Neil Lennon role, gets the ball, breaks the play up.
Right. He does the basics right, and that's all I want from him now. So
I think that's just. I think he's brilliant. I think he's only going to get better, and I think maybe, I know we don't want to keep talking about the manager because he's still here, and by all accounts he could still be here next season. We fucking don't know that.
Please don't say
that. I just think that they've got to play continuously. And Turnbull, for me, I think Turnbull's going to be another 15, 20 million player in 2 or 3 years' time. I think he's going to be brilliant. He's an absolute, he's brilliant. Again, it's a good guy for Scotland to have in their team. For the Euros coming up, I think he'll be brilliant, and that's only going to make us maybe a better team with him playing with Scotland as well, because he's playing against it on assist. Brilliant. And obviously, I just want to get your kind of thought, Robert, as well, on why you think Sorrell and Turnbull won in the team. Because I just think it's madness for me.
The reason behind what I think they won in the team was because Lennon's tried and trusted, and they were winning games and winning trophies. So he wasn't going to change it. There was no way he was going to change it. The only reason he changed it is because the screams were getting louder and louder for the fans, and it was like, look, this can't keep going on. So he had to look like he was trying something, and he did. He gave it against a dead rubber game against Lille. It wasn't a dead rubber to us, but to him, they're out the competition. So I've flung these boys in, and it looks like I'm then changing it. And by obviously the boys playing well, we got a result. And then by that all means, he couldn't have let drop him. There was no other way. He couldn't turn around and, well, he did try it, didn't he? He dropped Sorrell for Brown in the cup final, and I'm not saying it was Brown's fault, but we conceded 3 goals and had to win in penalties, and we nearly absolutely tossed a Scottish Cup final for the season before. Through trying to be good to his old pals and whatever you would like to say. But for me, McGregor this season, what Claire's saying, I feel a lot of McGregor has had to be the legs in the middle of the park for Scott Brown because of Scott Brown, and it was disjointed, the two of them. I mean, you've seen it against Sparta Prague and that, when they're getting forward. The two of them were trying to get forward, and Brown didn't have the legs to get back, and McGregor was maybe against 2 and trying his hardest, whereas Sorrell gives you the protection in front of the defence. He's a very, very clever player, as I says to you. He reminds me of young N'Golo Kante. I'm not saying he's going to be an £80 million player or whatever you want to call it, but he's got that wee smile. He's a wee guy in stature, but he's as strong as an ox. He's clever at how he patrols the back line, just in front of the back line. He doesn't just go mad and just go charging into tackles. He picks his tackles maybe when a player's 25 yards for goal, then he'll start moving forward and getting his tackles in for then. Maybe 30 yards for goal. He's very clever. He just picks his times to make the tackles, and he picks his times when to move the ball forward. He's very clever. I like him because he's not like Scott Brown. When Scott Brown gets the ball, it's side away, it's back away. He goes in between the two centre halves to take the ball sometimes. And to me, what is the point in him going 15, 20 yards back to do what a defender can do? What Sorrell can do is take the ball 15 yards, while in front of the centre half, turn and move it quick and moves it with pace. He's a great wee player for what I've seen, and I think he will only get better under a better manager. Because him and Turnbull have been the shining lights in a very poor season. Turnbull, assists, great. Crossing, great. free kicks, great, and he adds goals to his game. As Claire said, he's probably set such a high standard to start with that he's maybe Claire saying he's took a wee dip, but his standard he set at the very start was so high with assists and goals is phenomenal rating. So maybe he has took a wee dip, but it's only natural a boy at 21 who's come in and done that. So everything's, in my own opinion, you've got to really build your team around the two guys. And if Callum McGregor's still there, then build it around him. Wear him, because I think you've got the basis of a right good team, unless somebody comes in and gives a ridiculous offer like Frimpong, then we can't really knock it back. Then you'll just try and find the next hidden gem. That's my opinion of the two of them.
I will touch on Frimpong in a minute, but obviously the game, I tumble and sort of again, Hamilton were brilliant. I know we're saying it's Hamilton, but they were brilliant. And then Griffiths again, brilliant finish for the first goal. I know he's a bit of a rogue, and maybe his weight might not be the best, whatever, and he struggles, he's hard, but I don't interrupt the day. I still think, I know some Rangers fans were talking about before, but I think Lee Griffiths is the best striker in Scotland by a mile. It's just my opinion. I think his finishing is just phenomenal. I know he's missed the odd set here and there, but I think if he's on the park, you're liable to get a goal off him. It might take two chances out of one, but I think he's brilliant. I think we've got to just keep playing him now. None of this strapping him. I know we'll talk about Ayet in a minute, Claire. I know we've put a wee bugbear with him, but I think we've got to just play him. I know people are saying play Kamara and Ayet to get him fit, blah, blah, but for me, as long as we're still, the league's still no in their horns, I would just play your strongest team, get a bit of momentum, and I think by playing Griffiths, it's only going to, for me, Claire, it's only going to help us in a way at the end of the season.
Yeah, with Griffiths, there's always a chance you're going to get something with Griffiths. He runs a bit like a Jersey one, you know. He's good, and there's always that chance. You might only need that one chance, that one tap in, that one opportunity for him, and he could score. And the thing with Griffiths, he might not play wonderful for a match, but his goals count. And I agree with you. I think you should play him week in, week out. I don't know going forward who his strike partner will be. I do think he needs to have a partner. I don't think he's as effective up front on his own. Whether that be my wee pal Yeti there, or whether it be somebody else, I don't know. But I think Griffiths has just got to be one of the first names on that team sheet if he's fit and if he's ready to go. I think he needs to be. I mean, Lennon turning around and saying that he was an impact substitution when he was just coming back and that he didn't want to start him. I mean, come on, the boy's not going to lose the weight and get his head in the right place if he's not doing what he loves, which is playing start to finish. And that's another one. That's another statement for Lennon that just baffled me. I just don't understand. And he did put the work in. Griffiths behind the scenes, he did do what you're saying Barker should probably be doing. Put the head down and just focus for a wee bit. But yeah, one of the first names in the team sheet for me would be Griffiths. If we can keep him and pass when his contract is out, then I would, if I could do it, we should definitely try and hold on to him.
Would you agree with that, Robert? So obviously, that's just my opinion. I think he's still, I know Edouard's a phenomenal player, but just based on finishing, I know Rangers fans will talk about Morelos or Defoe, but for me, I think Griffiths, his finishing, it's brilliant. I think he's looked a bit sharper yesterday. And that, for me, that's only going to come with playing more the rest of the season. I think we'll get more goals off him.
Griffiths is by far the best finisher in Scotland. I'm not even going to debate that with anybody. Honest to God, he's the best finisher in Scotland. Guys that have played with him throughout their career will tell you the guy is an absolute goal-scoring machine. It's just getting his mental health right. I know he's suffered a lot with that. And I just hope maybe back playing and scoring goals gives him that wee kick that he needs, just to continue his career, because I don't want him to be a wasted talent, because he's not that old. What is he, 30 years of age now? 31, is he? He could easily play for another 2 or 3 years at the highest level, but he's got to get his weight down and his obviously mental health obviously sorted and stuff like that. But another great finish last night. I mean, he's just one of these guys that can just pick a ball up and put it in the corner, be anywhere in the park, really, for 30 yards out. I would like him to stay around, and I'd like him under maybe a new manager to get the best out of him again. Back to his, because he does look to me still about a stone and a half overweight. He doesn't look totally fit. But again, that's probably down to management and the fitness coaches and stuff like that that need to get the best out of him. But I would keep him. He's definitely a player that can win you games out of nothing. As Claire said, he might not have the best of games, but he's always got an eye for goal. And his pass through for Edward yesterday for the second goal was a great pass as well. I think with a partner, he looks a lot better with it. Cracking player. Always like Griffiths, always will like him. Scored a lot of goals for Celtic and definitely keep him around Celtic. As long as we can, as long as his fitness and his health's there.
And then obviously we'll speak about a yet in a wee minute. Obviously Frimpong's away now. The recruitment side of it, we've signed him for 11. We've set him for 11 million supposedly. I don't know if it is 11, but I think under maybe I know I've given a bit of stick this season because he can't close the ball. For me, it doesn't matter if you're 17 or you're 35. If you're playing professional football and you're a winger or a right back, whatever, you're going to close the ball. As we spoke about with Tony yesterday in the podcast, Robert, but it was drummed at him at a young age at Celtic, get the ball across, and I think that's what he may be missing. But he might go to Germany under a better structure, better manager, better coaches, and I think he probably will blossom. I think that's maybe, again, some of his comments, it might be a detriment to the way we run our club, the board, the manager. He says, obviously, people say you're maybe a cheeky wee shite saying that your demands weren't met, but again, that's another player who's coming out with these cryptic tweets again. Dembele had it, Rodgers said it when he left. So for me, the recruitment side of it, and that side, it's going to be better. We've spoke about it in plenty of time. I don't know what Claire thinks of the recruitment, but obviously, with rumours about Davis signing the day, Touchwood, he's supposedly a good player to Preston. But Frimpong, Leon, I don't know what you think of that, Claire. And obviously, the recruitment, we signed 4 or 5 players this season, and it's the structure we spoke about it. It's got to change, in my opinion. If it is a head coach and a director of football, it's, for me, modern football now, it's got to change.
Totally agree with you. I mean, I'll take the Frimpong one first. I mean, can he say I'm going to lose any sleep over that? I'm not going to lie. I mean, his crosses have been abysmal. Honestly. Almost as bad as Christie's, but that's another story. However, yeah, he's quick, and he came in, he was all, really want to be here. I'm, happy. It was, happy as wee boy in the world, quite happy playing football, and something's turned his head, and whether you get all the people that say it's the agent. Maybe it is, I don't know. But he's young enough to be influenced really easy as well. And do you know what? Fair play to the guy. He's probably going to go to Germany and be brilliant. And the way he's played this season, I hope Celtic bit the hand off them for giving an £11 million. But whether it be 11 million or whether it be 8 with add-ons, I don't know. But even if it is just 8 or 9 or whatever, I mean, spend it, Celtic. Give me some players that I want to see play and want to play for the jersey. Bring in good signings. I mean, with the recruitment, that's what I was saying to you earlier, Ryan, about the guy from Preston. Is that a Lennon signing? Because if it was a pre-contract and Lennon's meant to be leaving in the summer, I question who's behind that. Because why would Lennon be behind that if he's going to come in when Lennon's apparently going to leave? I'm not sure. I definitely question the recruitment. I don't know if Nicky Hammond's really pally with Lowell or whatever goes on there, but in that situation, I feel sorry for Lennon, because if he doesn't have a say in who plays in his own team, I mean, how can you manage that? Do you know what I mean? How can you? You're fighting a losing battle there if you don't have control over your signings. Maybe that is what Robert said, is maybe that is why he came out and said what he said about Barkas. Maybe it is just frustration. It could just be that. And same with McGregor when he did the interview after whatever game was it? Sparta Prague. I mean, maybe that was just sheer the build up all this stuff, and McGregor just went, you know what? Ran his mouth off and obviously put the brakes on just about in time. But I mean, Lennon, I just don't think Lennon's got a say in it.
You were talking about obviously the signings. See, in his first spell, that was a Lennon team, wasn't it, Robert?
Yeah.
It was the guys he signs, your Kayals, your Ledleys, and the guys up front, and Foster was there. So that was, for me, that was his signings. Rodgers, when he left, as we spoke about before, Claire and Robert, that we signed Marion Shebs. Rodgers, like, I've not seen him play before. Bio, did they sign Bio? Again, another $1 million, $2 million spunked down the drain. The recruitment for me has been awful. I can kind of go with when it comes to Claire that it could be frustration that he's not signed them, and he's maybe because he the job he's in, he can't come out and say, "Oh, I didn't sign him," because there was a few weeks ago, I think I mentioned it to you, Robert, in a podcast, that when done an interview and they asked, I don't know if it was something for Sky, they asked him, "Do you get the full say in the transfers?" He kind of says, "Well, we all speak together and then we go," and I'm like, "Well, really, you're saying no?" Because if you did, we say, "Of course I do the transfers. I'm the manager." So, and I think that's maybe why the CEO for me doesn't work, because for me the CEO deals with that side of it, and I think we've got to bring in the first, when Rodgers come in, Rodgers and Davies and whoever else, whether they come in and dealt with the football side of it. And I think, I don't know what you think of that, Claire, but I think the football side, it's just the money men are dealing with the football side in a way, and I don't think that should be happening at a club like Celtic.
Totally agree with you. I don't know if this is probably going to be a very much an unpopular opinion, but I don't know whether a director of football would be a good idea. And I mean, dark horse, and I don't know if this has even been something that's crossed your mind, but somebody like Jackie McNamara as a director of football, somebody that can deal with the football and can deal with a manager and knows the backstory of the club, knows all about how it works. I mean, obviously he's not maybe not a big name that would jump out at you with fireworks, but you can't fault him for his passion for the club. And I think to deal with the football side, you've got to have that. And if he can work with a manager and work with whoever it is that's controlling the money, whether it be Mr. Lowell, or good luck if it is, or whether it be somebody else, you need that. Maybe that buffer needs to be there. Maybe it shouldn't be manager, money man. Maybe it should be manager and director of football working together, and then that little buffer might just help. I mean, I know that interview you're talking about with Sky, that one that you were saying about Lennon, and he said, "Oh, we all speak and we can fair," and I no bother. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, he try to kid here. If you're the manager, you pick your signings. It's no difficult. If you have a director of football in, then you turn around and say, "Me and so make these decisions." That's what you do. You don't turn around and bullshit me and say that you ought to talk. And it's just, I think he's taking the fans to a ride a wee bit with some of those statements. When I think back to them, I'm just like, oh my god. But yeah, somebody like Jackie McNamara would be fine for me. I wouldn't say no to that. I know a lot of fans would. A lot of fans probably would say that, but I think he would probably be a decent enough appointment, especially if you're changing the structure.
I think that's something we've spoken about on it. As much as people might not want a kind of former player, a guy who knows the club as a director of football or an advisor, whatever, but I know I'm kind of the way I'm maybe going a foreign route. No, I'm not saying get a foreign manager, but the way that is maybe a foreign director of football with a British coach, just something different. But I don't know what your take on, obviously, Madam McNamara, you maybe say Stratton or O'Neill, just somebody that knows Celtic, knows how to deal with transfers and the money side of it. Just because for me, Lowell maybe takes too much. Again, we're only going by what we're seeing and what we're believing. We don't know everything ins and outs. But for me, I think just with it, maybe the way Lennon talks, that he's no one full command.
He's no in full command. He didn't get to pick his backroom stuff, as I already says. That tells you right away. He's no in full command. I say to you, a director of football might be what we need. I says Gordon Strachan, Martin O'Neill, your Daffling and John Collins, which could be a good shout. But I think it's going to be somebody a wee bit older than Jackie McNamara. I like the idea, but he's got to demand the respect of being a manager and being at clubs for so many years. I don't think McNamara's got that experience. That's just my personal opinion. To maybe get through to, is it going to be Ross Desmond or Peter Lowell? That side of it, is it got to be even like somebody completely different, as you say, as a European foreign route? I don't know how they're going to structure it, but the structure needs to change to top to bottom. But on the thing of signing players, do you know all Italian clubs, the manager doesn't really get given a say on signing players? It all comes from the directors and the CEOs in Italy. I only found that out through my mate telling me, who's big into Italian football. And I've said all that to him, and he turned around and says to me, well, that's the way they do it in Italy. They've been doing it that way for years. Like, the manager just gets to manage the club, and that's it. He gets given these players. Don't get me wrong, I think he might have a say on it, but a lot of it comes from the directors and above who sign the players, and they just give them the weapons really to deal with it. And I would hate Celtic to go down that route. I would never like that to happen to us, but what's to say that's not been happening for the last 4 or 5 years, and we just don't know about it, and that's why we've got unrest, and that's why maybe I think we left Brendan Rodgers, maybe why the scout left John Park, because he was scouting players and Peter Long was going, nah, that's not his budget. I'm speaking to an agent who's keen as this player, and he's went, well, wait a minute, who's going to get the flack here if this goes wrong? Maybe that's too many people leave Celtic within a certain time. It's like a revolving door. Managers, players, reserve coaches, like director of football, like scouts and stuff like that. I don't feel we have a structure in place like, say, the Ajax model, Leipzig model, like maybe our Red Bull Salzburg and stuff like that, where they've kind of structured it all, and they've got guys that have been there for so many years. I think we really need to go a long-term plan rather than short-term. That's just my opinion, how the club needs to be run.
I think I've been a big admirer, advocate of getting maybe the modern side of the football changed, director of football, and maybe I get a very, very experienced manager. I know we've spoken about the dream for me would be Ralph Rangnick, the old Leipzig manager. Just the way people talk about him, he's one of the best coaches in the world. Again, will that come to us and will we have the money to do it? I don't know. That's just a dream as a fan. But obviously, I spoke about maybe Benitez, Eddie Howe. Their names get flung about through your WhatsApp numbers. We don't know. But see, obviously, Clive was talking about signing Davies. I say to Robert, you know, maybe I think as much as it's no for me, it's not going to sell season books. It's not going to get my hump up about Celtic again. But you know, maybe Alex Neil's coming in the summer, and that's why he's signing Davies. It's just my opinion. It's just I'm maybe putting two and two together because they were rumored to sign the guy. Because they were rumored to sign the guy Pearson. He's maybe got to Bournemouth now. We don't know. We didn't know if this guy Davies is signing. But as you say, who's signing? If Lenny's not going to be here, why are you signing players if a new manager's not in yet? I know what you say, clubs do that, but managers who normally come into a team, I would like to know who my squad is going to be and who I'm going to have to sign with my budget. So I was just thinking that today, Claire. Could Alex Neil be a possibility? I don't want it to happen. I don't think it's not going to sell season books which are going to go right down unless we get a top manager in. I just think it's something. That's just a wee burner that I had in my head.
Alex Neil, I think, would be all right, but just all right. I've said all right a million times since I've been speaking to you two, and I hate saying it about Celtic that we're just all right. I want to be saying we're brilliant, or I want to be more positive. That's a good point. I never actually thought, didn't put two and two together with that, but it's a good point. I mean, Davies coming in, 25, probably a decent player. Do you know what I mean? He could be fine. We sign him before Monday, but we're just going to drop him in against Kilmarnock or whoever it is we play after St Mirren and go, hey, go son, go nuts. Let's see if he can settle in. Do you know what I mean? And you bring him in and you fling him in. Who goes out? Is he going to drop one of his trusted boys, Dumb and Dumber at the back? Do you know what I mean? Is he going to? One of the two is going to get punted out for this new boy as well. I mean, that's only if he signs by Monday. But then you've got me thinking now. I wonder why they sign a pre-contract and why we didn't try and push to get him in this window. So I think if Eddie Howe did come in, for talking sake, he'd bring in he'd be. I think apparently one of his reasons was he needs to come with his own backroom staff. He needs to come with his own guys. So Kennedy and Gavin Strachan's laptop can all bugger off and leave. Do you know what I mean? But this is what I'm saying. This is exactly what you guys were saying. They need to have their own backroom staff in, and Lennon didn't get that chance. He kind of just get dumped in the job with the deadwood that was already there, which wasn't really very fair on him. But Alex Neil wouldn't sell a season book for me. I would say aye, all right, but I wouldn't get overly excited about it, to be honest. I would get much more excited if Benitez or I would be happy with how I would be, but
because obviously we were talking about obviously the season books. I think the way it's gone, because he obviously what we were expecting this season, and the way maybe the club or the boards kind of conducted themselves, it's maybe know what the fans would like. So I think season books will drop unless, as we've said, as the days go on and the weeks go on, Lenny's still here. It's the fans are going to go, I'm going to give up. Why should I give money when I'm not getting Sports Celtic say the added value, season passes and all that? I just think when it comes to obviously that side of it and then the recruitment, I've spoken about obviously Ayeti came on yesterday again, he's hardly played. The recruitment side of it, we've paid £5 million for him. Obviously Gavin Stanton came in, League One. He spoke about Tony, identified Tony. We didn't sign him, but supposedly Brentford paid £6 million with £3 or £4 million add-ons, whatever it is. For the outset, when it was rumoured Tony was £10 million, I was like, I don't want to pay £10 million for a League One striker. For me, at the time, it didn't make business sense. That was just my opinion. I get it, coming from West Ham, not really played, but his Basel form was brilliant. Scored, I think, 25, 30 goals in all competitions, including the Champions League. I thought, aye, £5 million, come up here. A French player at West Ham on the bench should come up here. I thought with Duffy at Brighton should come up here and should score goals. He's done it in Europe before, so. But now you're thinking £5 million for him, 6 for Tony. Tony scored over 16 goals, I think, this season for Brentford. There was rumours of him going to Arsenal in the summer, so. But I think it's an arse guy we missed a trick on, and I don't know what we've spoken about it, Claire, but I don't know what you obviously are Yeti, but it's. I'll let you go on about what you think of Yeti, but I think it's the recruitment again. It's shown up to fail.
Yeti's just so frustrating for me to watch. I mean, I know he came in and he had, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 matches, and he had a few goals in there and a few assists in there, and I was like, right, okay, fair enough, let's go, let's see what you've got. Oblivious, totally forgot the guy was only 23 at this point. You know, he's the same age of not kicking the balls off what Edward is, so. You know, I'm thinking, right, okay, obviously got that, was it a groin injury or hamstring injury, whatever happened to him, and since he's, from what I've heard, since he came back, he had fitness issues, whatever that means when a club says a guy has fitness issues, which is why he's been off form, apparently. Now, going back to Griffiths and no excuse for weight in professional football, do you know what I mean? Then come on, now you're getting paid stupid money. Stay fit, it's no rocket science. He's got all these fitness coaches and whoever in the club that should be able to fix that. But I mean, it's like what you said earlier, Ryan. Yeah, he could potentially be a completely different player under a completely different manager. The guy might maybe he doesn't like Lennon's coaching. Maybe he doesn't respond well to the way he's been managed. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he needs I mean, you could probably blow on him when he'll fall over. He needs to toughen up a wee bit. But maybe he needs that a wee bit of a softly approach, or a right good kick up the rear end. I don't know. But I mean, he came on last night, and I don't know if he's noticed. His shoulders were hunched. He was just like, oh my God, here we go. It was as if coming off that bench was an effort for him. And I think they had a corner, Hamilton, not long after he came on, and he was like, his positioning wasn't great, and he totally missed the ball. I mean, nowhere near it. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, he didn't seem to know what he was. It was as if he didn't know what he was doing, and all his runs were. He wasn't reading his teammates right. His runs were completely wrong last night, and I mean, I know I was quite harsh probably when I spoke about him earlier, but I feel for the guy a bit because he is only 23, and maybe a different manager, he could play a lot better. I mean, I don't know what your take on that is. Maybe he won't play better, but he is young enough. He is young enough to get better, and I think he could play really well with Griffiths for a couple of years. I don't know. I don't know what your take on that is.
I'm a big. Obviously I played up front myself when I played football, so I tend to look at strikers, and I think people might shoot me in the foot and say I'm wrong, but I think he's a similar mould of hooper. He doesn't look the most mobile, but if you give him the ball in the box, I think he'll score. I think the best game I seen him play was against Leo away. I thought him and Elanusi linked up brilliantly. I thought he was superb. And again, Len took him off for 60 minutes. And I'm saying, what are you doing? He's playing well. What are you taking him off for? I agree with you when it comes to it. I think he does look a bit disinterested. Again, we don't look, that's from a fan's perspective. It might not be that, just might be the way maybe his body image is. But I think a lot of these players maybe better coached, maybe better managers. I agree with Robert that we've got a colourless, a fantastic team. Obviously, we need to do better in Europe. I think it's the main thing for me is the defence and the goalkeeper. I think up front we're always going to get goals if it is Kamara, Ayeti, Edouard or Griffiths. Midfield, I think we've got a lot of options. Obviously, still getting Cham. You've got other guys there, young guys like Henderson, to come in and play. I think the defence it's been a bugbear all season. But when it comes to Ayeti, I like him and I think he will come good if he's given the game time. He's been given maybe a better coach with a top class manager. I think Robert, I don't know what you think it may, but I think Ayeti would come good under a better structure, like we've said about a lot of other players.
It's a hard one because as Paul said, he came in and scored a few goals at the start. He got a hamstring injury, whatever it was. He then looks like he's put on a bit of weight. He had the odd couple of good games, but if you're saying, Ryan, what you're saying he's a penalty box striker, and to me that's the way he looks. That's the type of guy. But a penalty box striker playing with Celtic, we don't play with wingers now. We've no played with wingers, so maybe the guy is somebody that gets on the end of crosses, like in the 5-6 yard box. Yeah, I mean, it's hard probably for him if he is a penalty box striker to play his back to goal for 25 yards out. It probably doesn't suit his game. So Lennon and that should have really done their homework on that side yet, if that's the guy they went for. Because to me, our system and the way we play isn't suiting the guy now, and he's not getting a lot of minutes. Maybe that's what he needs, is two natural wingers, guys that can get by people and put crosses in. Because Waxelt's not been the greatest at crossing balls. Taylor's not been the greatest. Pring-Pong wasn't the greatest at crossing balls. So if you're a penalty box striker, we know a lot of balls come into your area when you're playing. It's very hard to score goals really. And if you're having to then be 25 yards for goal playing your back to goal, which doesn't suit your game, then you can look poor. You know what I mean? It's just a wee opinion on it. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong in that. But if we think that's the type of player he is, then he really needs to be inside the box, balls getting fired in, fade wide areas, or cut back to him, and then for the guy to score. Because his goals are always around about the 10, 15 yard mark, to what I've seen. He seems to be that guy comes alive in the box. So that's just a wee opinion. It might not be right, I don't know.
I'll throw one at both of you then. What about, do you think he'd play better if James Forrest was fit and playing well?
Yeah, I've been a big criticiser of Forrest, but his stats tell me that I'm talking one lot of shite because his stats are phenomenal, and I think that the only thing that I don't like about him is I think he's a shite bag. That's my point. I think he shits at tackles, the big games he hides. Again, I'm never going to criticise. I don't want to put that up bluntly because he's a professional football player, so I'm not going to say that he's not trying, he's not tackling. I just think that it could be hard on tackles, and he's on the ball. It could be, but that's not his game. Maybe I'm being too critical. That's not his game, tackling and he's on the ball. But when it comes to the wing play, definitely we're missing him because I don't think he can defend very good. I think that's maybe what we're missing again this side because when we had Tierney and Sinclair might have got his critics, but him and Tierney defended very well. They covered a lot of ground, and I think maybe Forrest, in my opinion, doesn't do that much. But going forward, we've missed his goals, his creativity. I don't know what Robert thinks, but I think he's been a massive miss for us because when him and Elanusi were first kicking off, we were very good, especially last season. And I think we've missed him, and we've not actually signed a replacement because we don't know when he's going to come back. Lenny's didn't say he's going to be back. He says a few weeks, a few months. When's a few months?
Middle of February. I'd heard middle of February.
Did he say? I've not heard that, but I don't know what you think of Forrest, Rob, but I think we're missing him.
We miss James Forrest for the full fact is he stretches the game and he runs with the ball. He can take you 15, 20 yards up the park with the ball. Just his running ability is really good in the final third. We have lacked that, and I think we need possibly another 2 wingers. We need guys. I mean, Mikey Johnson can be, but he's flatters to deceive sometimes. He just
I don't
doesn't
rate him
rate
at
enough
all.
for me. The boy who played against us for Sparta Prague, I've only really seen him in the 2 games, but the 2 games against us, the winger boy, the Swedish boy, is Larsson. I'm not sure if his name is Larsson. Carlson, sorry, I think his name was. I like to look at him because he was a direct runner. He was quick with the ball at his feet, and he was a winger, and he could score goals. He might have had 2 World Games against us and be absolutely garbage. I don't know, but somebody of that mould, I think we should kind of look at. Do you know what I mean? Like someday we can release the ball on the wing and stretch a game, because we play against a lot of compact defences, and if we can't get on the wings, then against teams like Hamilton and Ross Counties and Livingston, you're expecting a 0-0 draw if you can't get down the wings and stretch the game. That's just my opinion. I feel we need a couple of wingers quick and can take a man on. It's an old-fashioned winger that can get by people, like a Paddy Roberts type of guy we're lacking. And I think obviously with Forrest, with no natural width in our team.
Is that, obviously I'm guessing that's something you've kind of thought about all season, Claire Forrest, been missing?
I've never been a massive fan of him. I mean, anyone that knows me will tell you that. But I've also realised exactly what Robert said. You've got the teams like Livingston and St Johnstone to an extent. They pack the bus. Let's not beat about the bush here. Come on, we're going to probably do it next week. Pack the bus for 80 minutes. And I think Forrest does stretch the game. He can run with the ball. He might be a wee bit fear, like you said, Ryan. I think he hasn't got maybe the confidence he should have. But I think I am taking it back to Ayeti because I think with Forrest on his game and playing well, Ayeti potentially could feed off that, and I think they two might actually link well together, and that could be a good partnership in the way those two. His style of play Forrest style of play could suit a striker like Ayeti that Robert's saying, 10, 15 yards outside, from the goal. Forrest gets good crosses in. I mean, I've never been a fan of Forrest, however, you don't realise how much you miss him until he's not there. I'm looking at that team last night without Christie in it. Wasn't a massive miss, I'm not going to lie. I think Christie's been so inconsistent.
See, when you're talking about Christie, I said it about the same with Frimpong. He's the most infuriating player I've ever seen at Celtic. Because I think he's got everything. I know he hits about 50 shots a game, but he has got a strike on him. I think his energy is brilliant. His fitness I think he's probably the fittest in the team, by the looks of it. He does try the long passes, but I think the only downside I think him as he's shooting and he's crossing from me is ridiculous. I don't, at any level of football, if you can't cross past the first man, I don't like it. I think it's very poor. But I think Christie's got everything, and I think if he does go again, I don't want to keep putting it down to Lennon and the coaching staff, but if he's played in the right position, which I can't say I know exactly what it is, but it's the same with Lanucci. If he's played in the right position, you'll get the best of him. And I think, as Robert says, we've made too many changes. Guys are not getting the right positions. I'm not getting the rhythm in the team. I think I agree when it comes to Christie. He's just he didn't look a big miss, but I don't know if you think he's frustrating, Claire, but I think he's got everything in his locker, but he's just very, very frustrating.
Oh, it's infuriating. I mean, what was it you said, Robert? Did you say it was 33 times or something the team's been changed this season or whatever it was? I think you said. I mean, I didn't know that, and that's quite scary actually. But I like it.
How many times have we changed tactics in that time, Claire? We've never stuck with the same tactics.
Come back to me next time. I'll get you a figure, right? I'll work it out for you. But I mean, I look at that game Christie played for Scotland. All right, you get the goal, brilliant. I'll not take it away from him. Amazing. But he tried the same shot, or similar shot for us, and I forget who it was against. It was no long after that. And he made a complete arse of it. And it was like, all right, okay, maybe off the boil slightly, but a couple of games after that, he was still 50 shots a game that were going Rosed or wherever they were going, and it is infuriating for somebody that's got everything. And I think he's, unfortunately, I don't like saying it, maybe another one that might leave and then be brilliant somewhere else. I mean, I can't remember if it was a WhatsApp or whatever, but Arsenal were looking at him, and I was just like, aye, all right, no bother, no danger, how you go. But then I think, look at the Arsenal play, and I think, all right, actually, you could fit in a team like that. And do you know what? I would wish him well if he left. Frimpong, I think, has been quite arrogant. Christie, I'm just like, do you know what, mate? You've been good. You've been here long enough. You have played well. If you want to leave, batter in.
So what's your take on Christie, Robert?
Very good player. On his day, can score a goal out of nothing, but he's not put in his right position. He hasn't played his right position the full year. His right position is behind the striker, 4-5-1, an attacking midfielder. And we've played him at the wide right, played him at the wide right practically all season, should I say, to come in on his left foot. And I just don't think it suits him. And last season, his stats and goals and assists last season was phenomenal. So he played in his right position last season. This season, he's just tried to accommodate other people and putting them out of position. And it's no suited him. And maybe and he's one of the lowest paid at Celtic a season. I think he's only £8,000 a week or something. And maybe he's looking at it and going, guys like Cham at around 15 and 20 grand a week and going, cunt's no kicked his arse for us and he's getting more money than me. So what's to say he's maybe doing like that? I don't want to be here if I'm on that. And there's guys that can't even get in the team that are on a lot more money and probably not done as much for the club in the last 18 months as I have done 2 years. I think he would blossom in another team and he could blossom at Celtic, but I don't think he'd be a big miss now because we have Timbo in that role. It's just, he's a cracking player. He was always good at Inverness and stuff like that. I always liked him. And I think he is a good football player. Just this season with everything that's happening, maybe we criticise players too much because everybody's after the boil. Maybe we're picking guys like Christie more as a support. I don't know. As I says, if he went, I don't like Frimpong. I wish him all well as well. We've got a lot of money. We've really, as you say, it's about 11.5 million for buying a guy for 350 grand. It's no bad bit of business in that sense. And I do think he'll blossom in Germany under the right coaches. I feel, to be honest with you, most players that would leave in it, I wouldn't be disheartened as long as the money was right and we had the money to rebuild the team. Because I think whether we win the league this year or whether we didn't, it was going to be a massive rebuilding job at Celtic. And I feel if we can get any money for certain or the players that want to leave, take it, put it in the bank, and get to the next manager to rebuild. And just, I think it's just a rebuilding job, really. If it's tap to bottom at Celtic, it's needed. And I just hope there's something special happening behind the scenes.
I think that's what we're all hoping for, because I'm, obviously, I don't know if you've listened before, Claire, but I'm a big fan of Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe's in my Christmas card list. I think he's, I think that's the way we've got to start playing football. The way I've watched videos of him and the way he speaks about it, someone in Mulder Rogers, he's obsessed with football and he's obsessed with getting better. And I think, again, that's just my wish. But obviously, I like, can I just get some information about you yourself, Claire? Robert, you can kick it off. Some questions.
Oh, sorry, Ryan.
No, it's all right, mate.
2 seconds, just to...
I'll start it off what we're going. But obviously, Claire, how did you start? Obviously, being into the Celtic family.
Oh, I was born into that. I didn't. That was always going to be. I was born into a family that were football daft. I mean, I'm half Irish, so a lot of my family are over in Northern Ireland. They're all Celtic daft, and my granddad was he was a very big advocate of Celtic from a very young age. I mean, I think I was probably 4 when I went to my first match. Don't ask me what I mean. Don't ask me to remember much about it. But I mean, I think I've been watching football since I was really small, and I've had a ball at my feet since I could probably walk. So I was always going to have an interest in it, and I would quite happily sit and watch any football match. I mean, my poor partner it's mental, because in this sense I want to watch football all the time, and it drives him mental. I mean, he's a Celtic fan, but not to the level of me. and it's like a total role reversal in this relationship. It drives him demented. But I think I've always had football on. I've always had an interest. I've always, mostly Celtic, but I mean, I have an interest in, you're saying, Robert, you've got a friend who's interested in Italian football. For me, it's more the Spanish league's quite a big interest in me. I'm a really big fan of Diego Simone over at Atletico Madrid. I think he's just great.
Phenomenal.
He's on my wish list as a manager. He's up for me. I mean, honestly, if he was available, I'd be like, and you come. But yeah, that's how I've just, my family have been definitely helped me with the whole Celtic thing, so that's how I got into it. So,
do you know what they call him over in Spain?
What's that?
Cholo, leader or something. I think it means. My mate had went to that boy. He's a mad football fan, and he went to the Atletico game, and he says Simeone was banned, and he went and sat in the stand. He says, and the small stadium was just chanting Cholo, Cholo. He said it was incredible. He'd never seen anything like it. He says that guy could walk on water over there. They love him that much, the Atletico fans. He said he could go on a terrible run and no win anything, but he's just that highly regarded over there.
I think he's got a few screws. Has he not got a screw list or two? I think he's a wee bit highly strung and a wee bit short tempered, but I think that'd be brilliant.
I think we lack somebody like that.
A few players would have the fear of God put him, I think, if he came
in. 2 wee seconds. Ryan, you go with Ryan. I can't find this.
No worries, mate. I obviously, Claire, see, growing up, you says football was a big part of your life. Who was obviously watching Celtic? Obviously, you're a wee bit older than me, so you've seen a bit more kind of players. Who was your kind of favourite player growing up, Celtic? If you've got one.
I was a really big fan of Enrico Annoni, actually. Paul McStay's obviously, it got to be right up there for me. That's the kind of first player that comes to me when I think about who I remember from my way back when I was watching football. I mean, cliched as it is, my favourite player is Larsson, obviously, but the likes of a wee bit further back, Van Hooijdonk, Cadet and Di Canio. I mean, that was when I first started getting proper interested in the more tactical side of it and the more, all these guys are actually skillful. And like, you get more, you start to get that first the knowledge of it when I was about that age. And I mean, Di Canio obviously was a different kind of class, I mean, obviously it wasn't there for very long, but I would say if you were to give me, if I had to pick one, I'd say Di Canio was up there for me. Definitely up there for me. But overall, Larsson's still at the top of my list. I don't care what anybody says. It might sound really cliched, but I need to say he's up there. Lubo's a close second, but Larsson's up there for me.
See, on that one, Claire, you talk about Di Canio. I loved him as a player, but I thought he was very disrespectful to Celtic, and he was still disrespectful to this day on Celtic, which put me off him a lot. Just in my thoughts, he doesn't really mention Celtic, like when he talks about his career and how much he was desperate for money and just took the first opportunity to leave us after rescuing him DC Milan reserves, really.
No,
that's my focus on him.
That's a good point. I mean, no, do you know what? You're probably right. I mean, I think he was an absolute arrogant arse, probably, as a human, but I think because I was small enough at the time, I just seen him as this wee hot-headed Italian guy that was really good with football and thought, oh my God, he's amazing. And then I seen George Cadet, who had the same kind of hairdo as me, and thought he was amazing. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that was the kind of, I was a young girl who was trying to have an interest in something that only boys liked at that age. And, I understand what you're saying about Di Canio. I think I did an interview a couple of years ago when he didn't mention Celtic. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been after they left West Ham, actually, or something, or whatever it was. And he didn't mention Celtic, and he didn't talk about like anything that happened when he was here and whatever else. And he did leave under a bit of a, what's the phrase, a bit of a cloud as such, I think, when he left, from what I remember. But I mean, you can't doubt his skill, I think, from that point of view.
They were my heroes growing up, Claire. I'm probably no far off your age. Like,
I'm not telling you to my age, right? But you can guess that for yourself.
I'm just saying, but that was, I can remember the tail end of Paul McStay and Di Canio and Cadet and Jackie McNamara and Tom Boyd and Lambert and stuff, just all these different generations, and Alan Stubbs and that, scoring the winner against Rangers at Celtic Park, and I think it was a cup, the first we'd beat them in ages, and he scored a header. for us to beat them and just to feel into beating them. I can relate to you in so many ways there. You know what I mean? The best game you've ever been to, Claire? Supporting Celtic.
6-2 against Rangers. Larson Chipman Kloss just honestly made me the happiest person ever. I've got it somewhere, the commentary for that. I think it was the Sky commentator that did that, and he just was going Ian Crocker, I think it was absolutely mental, and it was just brilliant. I think because it was such a, what would you call it, unexpected. I don't think nobody had said we were going to beat them by that much at that point. It was going to maybe be a 1 each or a 1-0 perhaps. It was never going to be a 6-2. I mean, come on. Kloss was the best thing since sliced bread at that point. He was never going to get chipped by Larson. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't written. I think he made it even better. But if you want a European one, I would.
I was just going to go into that. That was just the best game you've been to.
Best away days Old Firm game was the best
away games in Europe.
Liverpool away or Seville, probably. I've got to be up there. I mean, the Liverpool one just for John Hartson's goal, the second half. You'll know the goal I'm talking about. That was up there. So I mean, Seville was just a different kind of experience. Obviously, there were so many fans there, and it was just. I mean, I hope to see something like that in my lifetime again. I don't know, but you never know. I mean, as much as we didn't win it, and it maybe didn't end the way it should have done for various reasons. It's something that the fans at our era probably will never forget. And I look back and I don't think about the defeat right away when I look back in that season. I think about how we got there and who we beat and the goals that we scored and the players that we had. So, I mean, that sticks for me from an away game.
Your best European home game?
Barcelona. Oh, no. Oh, come on. Man U Nakamura's free kick probably is up there for me, that one. Or Barcelona. Although you might disagree with this, you might think I'm nuts, but see the 3 each game against Man City, that from a purely exciting match point of view was brilliant. I took my pal to that game for our first ever Celtic game, so that was a baptism of fire for her. I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's up there. That one.
Mine was a Juventus 4-3 game when we beat Juventus 4-3, and they were just unbelievable talent they had at the time. They had Zidane and Trezeguet and Del Piero and Buffon and that. That was my best one, but I can relate to you in some of the ones as well. What's your main one, Ryan?
I think, see, it sounds, it might, as Claire said, it might sound bad, but it's probably been the best opposing team I've seen. It was the game against PSG. The best performance I've ever seen for a player was Cavani. It was just as for a neutral point of view, just to see him play football. It was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. But if it came to the best game, I think I would maybe go with Claire. I was at the game, Nakamura. I was a bit younger at the time than I was now, but it was phenomenal. That guy for us was amazing. And I think it sounds daft, but you probably expected it to happen. You just knew as soon as you put the ball down, you know that he's scoring this, and it was magical. And again, it's kind of a wee bit of a positive note talking about this now, because what we've been through this year and the last years in Europe, it's been pretty not very good. But again, it's good to kind of talk about old times and memories, and obviously, Claire, it's been good to have you on and hear your thoughts and views, because it's something different. It's good to debate and obviously have different opinions, because people are probably sick of me and Robert talking a lot of trash on this, so it's different to have some different opinions. But obviously, Claire, I really appreciate your time. It's been brilliant having you on. Robert, brilliant again, mate. It's usual shit with us two talking rubbish, but Claire, I really appreciate you coming on. And I hope obviously during lockdown everything's all right. You keep safe. So during the last few months is hopefully, and obviously hopefully Celtic win the league. But it's not going to happen, is it? They just need to hope. But again, it's been brilliant to have you 2 years on. But we'll end it there, and we'll be back. Obviously, the one game came up. Hopefully, again we continue to run, get 3 points. That's all we can really do. But obviously, Claire, Robert, thanks for your time, and Keep
Thanks very
safe.
much.
Thank you.
No
Bye,
worries.
Zara.
Cheers. Bye bye.